I'm State Representative Janet Yang Rohr, and I represent the 41st District, which encompasses the Naperville area as well as portions of Warrenville. So excited to be here today. I have been serving our community since January 2021. And one of the greatest things about being a state representative and serving this district in this area, one of the greatest privileges is that I get to learn and hear about so many of the different offerings, services, groups, and organizations that serve our district and that really make us the great community that we are. One of those people, one of those groups that had reached out to me was the Illinois Legal Aid Online. And it is an organization that serves all of Illinois, but actually its leadership is in right here in our district. And after talking with Terry Ross, the Illinois Legal Aid Online Executive Director, just had to have her here to share with our district, with our constituents and community, just what it is ILAO does. So today, here we are with Executive Director Terry Ross. And let me tell you a little bit about Illinois Legal Aid Online. It is a free online service that seeks to provide legal tools to people who might otherwise have barriers to law and justice. And this group believes that people can be their own best advocates, given access to plain language and legal tools. And so, Terry, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Janet.
Terry, I think I would love to just have a conversation with you today about some of what you and your organization, what you do. I believe you have maybe a demonstration that you can do for us to show us some of the tools that are available. But before we, really get deep into there, would you mind just introducing yourself and kind of share with us your background and your role at so ILAO, right, is how you say it?
ILAO is how we say it. It rolls off the tongue. Yeah, Illinois Legal Aid Online, and we call ourselves ILAO. Yeah, thank you, Janet. I'm Terry Ross. I am a licensed attorney in Illinois. Like Janet said, I'm the executive director at ILAO. I've been the executive director for a few years. Prior to that, I've held a number of other positions at the organization. And my first one, I've been with the organization for about 14 years. Illinois Legal Aid Online has actually been around for more than 20 years. We celebrated our 20th anniversary last year. I learned about the organization when I was practicing at Prairie State Legal Services, which is a legal aid provider that serves DuPage County, as well as all of northern Illinois outside of Cook County, and parts of central Illinois as well. And I was in the Waukegan office serving people, and I was a new attorney, and I had general practice, and I really didn't know what I was doing as a new attorney. And I used this website almost every day to understand what people's rights were, and to break it down into simple, distill the complicated concepts of law into simple, understandable pieces so that people can understand their rights and their responsibilities and what their options are, and then gives them some tools to take action on those options if they choose to. So I practiced for a few years, and then I moved to ILAO, and I've been there, like I said, for 14 years. I am a licensed attorney. My license is under Teresa, but I go by Terry if anyone happens to look me up. And I obviously don't practice as a part of this organization. We really focus on information rather than advice. There's a distinction. So a distinction that is particularly relevant to the legal profession, because there's a prohibition on practicing law without a license. And the distinction that's drawn is advice versus information. So I'll just talk about that for a minute. advice can only be given by a lawyer or some sort of certified legal professional. In immigration, there's Department of Justice accredited representatives who can provide some legal help. So what advice is it's taking the specific facts of someone's case and applying that to the law, and then advising someone specifically based on their fact pattern. Information is just explains what the law says, and perhaps gives some examples, common examples, and allows people to apply their situations to it themselves, right? So I would never suggest that someone try to go to court without a lawyer in a very complex matter, or one that has a very that's very important to someone, right? Having a lawyer, a competent lawyer, is almost always better than trying to represent yourself. But there's many legal matters that you can be your own best advocate in. And also, even if you do get a lawyer, I think our website helps people understand what the lawyer is doing, what the law says, and many lawyers charge by the hour, and so it will keep your costs down if you don't have to ask so many questions. So that's a little bit about our organization, Janet.
Yeah, that's very, very helpful. And I didn't know the part about you using the website yourself when you before you joined the organization. So what higher recommendation than that?
Right. Yeah. So and I can, oh, go ahead.
No, go.
I was just going to say I can do a little bit of a demonstration of the website. I'll share my screen. So I think the first thing to note is that the website is free for everyone, right? So we don't put anything behind a paywall. It's freely accessible. You can use it anonymously, and we don't require people to give us their information. You can register on the website to be a member if you'd like. It's free, and it enables you to save some pieces, pages that you find particularly useful to your profile.
And just in case the address is too small for people, maybe if you could read out the website address for us.
Yeah. So IllinoisLegalAid.org is the website, and it is available in English, Spanish, and Polish. We provide practical legal information for people. It's really designed for people who can't afford lawyers and who don't have any other options, right? But to go it themselves, to be their own advocates. So the website doesn't cover anything like how to set up a trust fund or how to sue your doctor for medical malpractice. It really focuses on common legal problems like debt, like all kinds of family law, divorce, custody, visitation. It focuses on eviction and foreclosure. It covers driver's licenses, criminal records, relief. It covers all kinds of public benefits, health issues, education issues. It's a really wide range of resources available. And so if you see under the resources tab, you can kind of see the general categories that we cover. And one thing to note is that some research has been done, substantial research has been done, and it's found that people who have legal problems don't often identify their problems as being legal, right? And I think debt is a good example of that, right? Or Medicaid, for example, right? But there are some very specific rights that people have with debt collectors, and certainly when they apply for benefits like Medicaid, and even property tax exemptions and things like that, right? almost everything has a legal component to it, and there's some rights attached to that. So this is the website. This is the homepage. Most people actually come to the website from a Google search, and they land directly on a specific piece of content. I did look up our numbers for Naperville so far this year, Naperville and Warrenville, and it looked like, so far in 2022, a little over 23,000 people in the community have used us. The most common issue, not surprisingly, is divorce, but some other issues that were also sought were state ID information, driving restrictions for people under 18, property tax exemptions, I mentioned that. Unemployment benefits, certainly. Medicaid was one. And then name change was another popular category that people were looking at. There was also a fair number of rental housing issues, eviction, leases, et cetera. So we cover all those things and a lot more. And I'll just demo a little bit of, so I said most people come to us from a Google search. So here I searched for Illinois divorce-free forms. We have about 50, we have more than 50 legal forms available for people. Actually, I think it's probably closer to 100. These forms are free, so you shouldn't be paying for legal forms if you can help it. And this is a good example of that. So we have a divorce form, and it's called an easy form, and I'll explain what we call easy form. It works like TurboTax. Right, so it is basically an interview. It asks you some simple questions. You input your information in, and the interviewer app is smart enough to know, based on your answers, which forms you will need. So there's this particular divorce form can generate up to 27 different forms, depending on the facts of your case, whether children are involved, whether a spouse is in the military, et cetera, whether you know where your spouse is. And so it takes all those answers and it gives you only the forms that you need, and it drops your information into the appropriate places on the form. And now, then you're able to, yeah.
Can I ask, as a legislator, one of the things I know happens is laws change all the time. Mm-hmm. How are you all keeping these, I guess this advice and the forms up to date?
Yeah, great question, Janet. So we have a number of lawyers on staff, and they work with subject matter experts who are volunteers. So many of them are in what we call the legal aid community. So those people who work at organizations like Prairie State Legal Services, I mentioned earlier, they have specific subject matter expertise in a given area of law. And so we have people vet those resources on a regular basis. We also track state laws as they go through the legislature and identify, if they get passed, which particular sets of information we'll have to update as a result. So it's a lot of work to keep things up to date. And we certainly, we do our best. Sometimes we do have people reach out to us and say, hey, this, you need to add this exception onto your information, and that's really helpful. So certainly, if you are ever using the site and something doesn't seem right or it feels like it's missing, we have a contact form that's right up here in the top right-hand side, the left bar, that pulls up a form. You can fill it out. We review all of them on a daily basis, and we reply to many of them. The only thing I will say is that we don't answer requests for specific legal advice, right? So so you can't ask a legal question and give an answer. We won't give you an answer. We can guide you to some information on our site that would help you, but so don't use the contact form for that. But we do work with the legal community. We rely on volunteers and the expertise of our own staff to keep the information up to date. We also work for the forms specifically. We also work quite closely with the administrative office of the Illinois courts, who oversees the entire court system in the state. And they create many of these forms with a set of subject matter experts, and we take them and automate them into these really useful apps. So the divorce one is the highest, has the highest volume of use, which is not surprising. It's a common issue that people have. And the other tool that I will just point out is our Get Legal Help tool. And so what this does is it's effectively a triage system. You enter your problem, your zip code, and what type of help you're looking for. If you enter that you're looking for a lawyer, it will ask you some very basic household income questions to determine whether you might qualify for free lawyer through legal aid. If not, what the website does is it says, it gives you 2 lawyer referral, Bar Association lawyer referral programs. So there's one, the DuPage County Bar Association has a referral program. So does the Illinois State Bar Association, and many other counties and have those referral programs as well. So this tool, if you're below a certain income, then you may qualify for free legal help, which is called legal aid. I think most people know that you have a right to a lawyer when you've been charged in criminal court, right? But you do not have a right to a lawyer in civil matters, right? So civil matters are all the family law matters, anything that relates to debt, eviction, foreclosure, immigration, criminal records are actually a civil matter. So once you have the record, then getting relief for it is done in the civil court. And so the civil court it handles a lot of issues, and there's no right to lawyer, and there's not nearly enough legal aid lawyers to help everyone who qualifies and who has a legal issue. And so that's kind of the blue ocean that our organization, that's the gap that our organization is trying to fill. It's been referred to as the justice gap. The fact that people who can't afford lawyers in civil legal court, in some cases, domestic abuse is also a civil legal matter, so you can seek an order of protection in civil court. And there are domestic violence victims advocates available to help you, but not always lawyers. So just keeping that in mind, that there is a big gap between the lawyers that are available to help people who are working class, lower income, and the number of people who have those issues.
Now, will Elayo, for those people, will they like who find themselves in that gap, will these forms or the instructions tell you, like what to do next then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we do have We provide several different kinds of information. So I showed you the easy form. And then we have what's called our step-by-step information. Let me see if I can find that. So it's called Take Action. And this is really your step-by-step instructions, right? So the first thing you do is to gather your information together. If you're going to court, documentation is really important. The court is based on a written record, and so the better you can document things, the easier court will be for you. It doesn't work like ordering, it's not like a drive-through service, right? Where you can just order something and you actually have to submit, you have to file things with the clerk, and it's based off of a written record. And so gathering information is critical. Keeping your information organized is really helpful. Filling out your forms. So I already showed you our divorce easy form. And then filing the forms, notifying the other side, getting a hearing date, and then going to the hearing is there. And then after court, what comes next, right? So we do offer these simple step-by-step instructions. They are statewide, just like the laws that they're based off of. There are some specific laws that are municipal, right, that are focused on certain municipalities. And we try to include those when we can, but we don't focus on ordinance violations, for example, which might be like a dog bite or a noisy neighbor. So those things you can contact your municipality for and find out what you can do about them.
And again, these instructions and these step-by-step details, they're helpful even for people who do have lawyers, so that you kind of understand what's going to come next and you feel a little bit more control over what is happening, and just knowing what comes next helps a lot of times.
Yeah, absolutely. The law has a very specific language to it, and there are certain words the common words that have specific legal meanings, like service and notice and filing. Those mean very specific things in court versus or party even, right? The parties to the case, right, or the people involved in the case. It's not a party that we normally would think of. So sometimes it's hard to understand when people are talking, people with legal experience are talking about going to court. It's difficult to translate sometimes, right? And this website's really designed to do that, to provide plain language explanations for people. We do have a readability standard that we apply to all of our content for the public, and it's an 8th grade reading level or below. So we make sure that we're revising our content to meet that standard so that it's accessible for people.
Yeah, that's great. And I think sometimes people hear like 8th grade and below, I don't want to be talked down to, but it is really important. I come from the investing world in Morningstar, and we have like a very similar ethos. Investing can be complicated, but it doesn't have to be. And if you just write it in plain language and in conversational language, people can really understand and be their own best advocate as a result.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think plain language really benefits everyone. And, I think there's a lot of work to be done in the legislature when people are writing laws. So Janet, maybe you can, you can work on that. But
Totally
if you
agree.
actually, if you actually read a statute, right, it's not accessible. It's hard even for lawyers sometimes to understand exactly what the law says. But rewriting the statutes is a giant undertaking. So someday maybe we can start scratching the surface. Little things are happening here and there. So my example of that is um, the eviction law used to be called Forcible Entry and Detainer Act, which nobody who wasn't in the legal profession would know that was the eviction law, right? So that's a good example. Now it's called just eviction, which people are much more familiar with.
And earlier you went through a few stats. You talked about the topics maybe people in Naperville and Warrenville are searching for, and we'll just emphasize that all of that is totally anonymous. So that's just aggregated data that you're looking at, and you can't
Yes.
see
Yeah.
what individuals are doing.
No, right. Yeah. We it's all aggregated. Yeah. So I have the total numbers, but nothing beyond that, right? And those numbers help. We look at those numbers to help us to help us prioritize our work often. And also we use those numbers. We're a nonprofit, and so we have to seek funding to keep our lights on, to keep supplying this good information and tools to people throughout Illinois, and so we have to show our impact to people and show that we are worth investment of a foundation or a donor.
Well, could you maybe talk a little bit more about that? I mean, this is a free website. We should emphasize. I mean, obviously you rely on volunteers, but how else are you funded?
Yeah, so we're very fortunate to get funding from several private foundations. We get state funding through a variety of different networks. So we get some money from the Attorney General's appropriation through the Illinois Equal Justice Foundation. The Lawyers Trust Fund is a private foundation, and we get a lot of funding from them. Chicago Bar Foundation, Illinois Bar Foundation. There's a program that just started a few years ago called the Illinois State Access to Justice Network, and that's been a really successful program that pairs community organizations and legal services together and focuses on knowing your rights and education, and really trying to break the barriers to justice in the communities where people have had so little justice, right? So little access to justice. And we also rely on individual donors, and so you see there's a banner at the top, closely up at the top here. We, like Wikipedia, right? Similar to Wikipedia. We're happy to receive, if our information helped you, we'd love to have you give us $5 or $10 if you can afford it, but it's certainly, you don't have to do that. You can still access the information without that.
Now, are there other areas of the site that you want to make sure people know about?
Let's see. So at the footer, I'll just go down here. I think I showed the contact us, which is really an important tool. Reach out to us, especially if you are looking for someone to come and train. If you're with a community organization, we'd love to hear from you. We can come and train your staff. We partner regularly with community organizations. We help to build the capacity of our partner organizations, and what we get in return is information about what needs they are seeing, which we can then make sure that we're providing information and resources to help meet those needs. We have, so the only other thing I'll show, Janet, is our form library. So this is a combination of, I'll talk about this pop-up in just a second. I talked a bit about our easy forms. We also have just the standard PDF forms that are available as well. And any form that we have on the site can be found here. You can search through and see what you can find, but we do have them in all these different areas. This box that just popped up is something called our Live Help service. So if you are struggling to find something on the site, if you have a specific question and you aren't finding what you need, you can click the Chat Now button and chat with a volunteer who will help to navigate you to the right information. So this service is used by about 70 or 80 people per day. So it's widely used. It's available Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, 9 to 6 on some days. So that's also a helpful service for people who don't want to take, who aren't sure how to navigate to their legal issue, right? And need help finding the information. Yeah, so I think, Janet, I talked about, one other thing to mention on the Get Legal Help tool is that it does triage people for legal aid services. So if you are lower income, it will help you figure out which program you may qualify for, and then it'll take you through to make sure that you do qualify for it. And if it finds that you're eligible, then you can actually apply online through our website, and that information goes to our partner organization like Prairie State Legal Services, and then they follow up with you, or you follow up with them depending on the program.
Now, it looks like we have a question from online. Can you tell us, are there resources to help someone to make a will?
I don't know. You know, it's something that we have talked about doing, a simple will, but I don't know if we have done it yet. So let me get back to you on that, Janet. I'll let you know and follow up. We do have a number of, so a will is in legal terms what's called probate court. And we do have a number of other probate issues, like guardianship is a probate issue. We have lots of information on guardianships, powers of attorney for property and for healthcare, living wills. I know we have information on all of those things, but I will check on the simple will and let you know.
So clearly, Illinois Legal Aid Online is a great great tool, and you talked about a few of the others, like the Prairie State Legal Services. Are there any others that you recommend to people?
Yeah, so if you think you might qualify in terms of income, Prairie State Legal Services is a great service. DuPage Legal Aid has a small program as well. They really focus on more family law matters. And that's also a free service. Administered Justice is another, that's a faith-based service. They work with churches to do clinics on a regular basis on weekends. So all of those places provide free legal advice to people. If you don't meet the income guidelines, you have some options. So I mentioned the lawyer referral programs already. Most of them allow you to do an initial meeting with a lawyer for a small price, $40, $25 or $40, I think, depending on the bar association. And then if you want to move forward, you can hire the lawyer. One thing I want to mention that people likely don't know about is that for several years in Illinois, we've had something called limited scope representation. And so it used to be that when you hired a lawyer, you were with the lawyer through the length of the legal matter, right? However long it takes. And so if you think about a divorce with children in particular is very lengthy and a very lengthy process. And the lawyer was with you from the outset and through till the end, right? What limited scope representation does is it enables you as a consumer to go to a lawyer and say, you know what, I can do some of this myself, right? Like, for example, I'm going to use the divorce forms on Aleo's website, and all I want from you is to help me with with negotiating with my spouse's lawyer, for example, right? Or I want somebody to come to court with me. But I'll do everything else, right? And so that gives you a little bit more power as a consumer on how to spend your money in your legal matter. Filing anything in court costs money. They do have fee waivers for people below a certain income, and we have that form available on our site as well. It will screen you to see whether you're eligible for a full waiver or a partial waiver based on your income. But it does, going to court and using the legal system does cost money, right? It can be quite expensive. So make sure that you take advantage of the things that are available to you if you have to go to court.
Yeah, such helpful advice, I think. Terry, maybe we'll get off the screen share. And again, thank you for all of this really helpful information. Can I ask anything else that you think that we should know before we wrap up?
Let me see. I don't think so. I mean, one of the, I guess I will just add that the best way that people find out about us, I said earlier, most people come to us via a Google search, but really word of mouth is really the best way. So if you find the resources helpful, pass them on to others, and it does. You are able to do some things yourself, right? And certainly to know what your rights are and to understand what your options are in the legal field.
Yeah, so important. And just when you were going through a lot of those topics, what struck me is in our office, we actually get a lot of those questions as well. And so, I can imagine that we will definitely be bookmarking the site and going to it. Yeah, really appreciate the work that you're doing here and this service that you're making available. Terry, again, thank you for joining us today and sharing all your expertise and this tool with us. Our community is so grateful for these kind of resources and for your being willing to share your time with us and your knowledge. I want to also thank the audience for joining us today. This event will be available both on our Facebook page. We'll put it on our YouTube channel just so you have those resources. And we'll also have them available through our website at repyangroar.com. Before we totally sign off, I just want to note that our next event, all of our events are on the website. But in particular, one to highlight for this month is about your gas and utility bills. We've been getting a lot of questions about natural gas bills. And so we're going to be joined by the Consumer Utility Board, the CUB organization, for a two-part series. The first part will be virtually on October 4th at 7 p.m. And the second part will be actually an in-person workshop where you'll be able to come in and the CUB, the folks from CUB will actually go through with you on a personalized basis, things that you can do to lower your utility bills. Every month we host a coffee and conversation. We want to make sure that you have that you can share your voice with me and your ideas and your concerns and issues whenever you want. So come to those coffee and conversations, send me an email, give us a call, and we would love to hear back from you. And if anyone ever has any questions, need to contact us for other things, please email us at info@repangroar.com, or you can call us at call or text at 630-296-4157. Thank you again. Thank you, Terry, for joining us, and we look
Thanks so much
forward
for having me.
Thanks. We look forward to seeing everyone at our next event.